Nobody splits the wrestling world like Vince Russo. To some, he's a misunderstood genius, and to others, he's the man who nearly killed the wrestling business. But whatever side you're on, one thing is clear: he didn't get along with a lot of people behind the scenes. These are the wrestlers Vince Russo hated working with. Russo and Bill Goldberg's philosophy on the wrestling business couldn't have been more different. Russo believed that wrestling was all about entertainment, with all of the twists and turns that came with it. Goldberg, on the other hand, wanted wrestling to look real, and he wanted to be a strong, positive role model for children. That's why Russo met heavy resistance when he pitched the idea of turning Goldberg heel. Vince thought that it was the next logical step after the winning streak was over, but Goldberg didn't agree. He said kids looked up to him, and he didn't want to betray that.
One of the hardest people for me to work with was Goldberg. And bro, the reason was he really believed in his gimmick. Okay, he really believed he was Bill Goldberg. But bro, I came to understand because I questioned him on it. Like, you know, when I wanted him to turn heel, he had an issue with it. Now, think about it, John. I'm walking into a company where a guy was 174-0. As a babyface, how are you ever going to top that?
Right.
It's impossible. Bro, there's nothing he could have done that would have went beyond the streak. So there comes a point where you've got to start looking at this guy as a heel. Okay? He did not want to turn heel. So I said to him, because I didn't understand, Bill, I don't understand. You play a heel in movies. You remember the Santa Claus movie? He was a heel. You play, Bill Goldberg is a heel in movies. This is a television show. I don't understand. And here's what he said to me, bro, and I got it. He said to me, on this show, I'm Goldberg. I don't have a character name. I am Goldberg. My name is Bill Goldberg. So when the kids see that, they see me.
He fought tooth and nail against the idea of playing a bad guy, but eventually Vince asserted himself as the boss and made him do it. Goldberg was supposed to spear Russo through a cage, but instead he drove him straight through a barricade with full force. Russo already had a concussion, and he believes that Goldberg did it on purpose.
The helmet that I always used to wear, that was a shoot, bro. That was, I'm not gonna die doing this. I've got a concussion. These guys keep taking shots at me. I'm not gonna die doing this. I'm going to protect myself. That was a shoot. I mean, it really was. So now Goldberg's got to spear me through the cage. Okay, so now that day, I'm like, Bill, I've got a concussion. I've been hit in the head twice since the concussion. Bro, you've got to take care of me here. You've got to take care of me, okay? So now I remember the door, you know, here's the ramp. The door is facing the ramp, okay? As Booker's going out the door, I want to go out the same side through the cage, okay? So, Bill, you have to take care of me. You got to take care of me. You got to take care of me, okay? Vince, don't worry. I'm gonna put you right through the middle of this cage, and the runway. You got the two steel barricades. I'm gonna land you right between these two barricades. I mean, right between the two. I'm literally gonna place you on the floor. Don't worry. I'm gonna place you on the floor. Okay, Bill. You know, no problem. No problem. No problem. Go through the match with Booker. Blah blah blah. Here he comes. Okay. Blah blah blah. Through the cage. Back of my head first into the steel barricade. Directly, there's this much space directly into, I was out of it.
What did you say to Bill in the locker room?
I didn't say anything because I was out of it. I mean, I was stretchered out. I mean, I was on that show.
You never had an exchange about that?
No. I mean, like I said, I think the next night I went and I did the little sit down. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even on the show. I think I just did the sit down, and I mean that I was done after that. That was it.
Do you think it was intentional?
I'm not gonna accuse him of anything.
Did you have a problem with Bill?
But Bill had a problem with me. Bill had a huge problem with me. Huge, because I wanted him to lose a match, and he had a huge problem with me. But there was a lot of room between those two barricades. I mean, a lot of room.
Another big name that Russo clashed with in WCW was Hulk Hogan, and this one ended in court. When Russo arrived in WCW in late 1999, he immediately sensed mistrust, especially from Hogan. Russo wanted to shake things up by pushing younger wrestlers, but Hogan still saw himself as the main attraction, and he had creative control in his contract to protect his spot.
I remember the very first show I went to work at WCW. And I remember, Mac, seeing Hulk for the first time. And Mac, I could tell just by the way he was looking at me, he did not trust me, bro, without ever speaking a word to me. And then I would hear Hulk say later on, oh, bro, people smartened me up, and people told me that, Russo's plan was to get all the young guys over and get rid of all the veterans. Nah, bro, that was never the plan. That was never my intention. But, bro, I had a reputation for pushing the younger guys. Yeah. Mac, why am I pushing the younger guys? Bro, that's business. The guys on top were getting older. Flair and Hogan were getting old. So what I need to do is I need to build the undercard. I need to build the mid-carders, and I need to get those legends in the right position. Hogan and Flair couldn't be out there wrestling every week. Hogan and Flair convinced themselves that I was trying to get rid of them.
The breaking point came at Bash at the Beach 2000. Hogan was booked to lose to Jeff Jarrett, but he used his creative control to block the finish. Hogan stormed out of the show, and Vince went out live on pay-per-view, burying him. He said that Hogan was a selfish politician who only cared about protecting himself, not the company. He called Hogan a big, bald son of a bitch who could kiss his ass, and then he fired him. That was Hogan's final appearance in WCW, and he went on to file a defamation lawsuit against Russo and Turner Broadcasting. Hogan said that the promo hurt his reputation and that the terms of his contract was broken. The case was eventually thrown out in 2003 because the judge ruled that the promo was part of the show. The men crossed paths again in TNA when Hogan and Bischoff were brought in as executive producers. Russo was the head writer in the company at the time, but Dixie Carter allegedly reassured him that his position was safe. But according to Russo, Dixie wasn't being honest, because as soon as Hogan and Bischoff arrived, they started calling the shots. They booked the Immortal storyline, which Russo thought was just another NWO rehash, and he had constant disagreements with Hogan over match finishes. He says that morale backstage got worse thanks to Hogan and Bischoff being there, and eventually he walked away from TNA feeling burned out and frustrated.
Because him and I are like oil and water. I respect people. I treat people with respect. I like getting my hands dirty. I like being one of the workers. I like getting in the trenches. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. Eric Bischoff, on the other hand, thinks he's better than everybody else, is driven by money and by power, and treats people like shit. And that's why we don't get along with two completely different people. I hated the way he treated people. And a lot of the way he treated people, they were my friends, and I hated it. And I never got along with him. I'll never get along with him with two different people.
But of course, Russo's heat with Bischoff didn't start there. It went all the way back to WCW. In April 2000, WCW brought both men back as a creative partnership to try and turn the company's fortunes around. The idea was that Russo and Bischoff would balance each other out, and they were even paired together on TV as co-authority figures. But backstage, it didn't work. Russo says Bischoff didn't want to be there and didn't want to work with him. Bischoff, on the other hand, thought Russo's booking made no sense and didn't respect what wrestling was supposed to be. They ended up pulling in opposite directions, and as Bischoff was best friends with Hogan, the Bash at the Beach incident ended up being the final straw, and he left WCW soon after.
Here's the difference between Eric and myself. And I tell people this all the time. People tell me all the time, oh, man, why? I got no problem with Eric. Eric is a great guy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, bro, because you never worked with Eric. Eric and I tried to get along. We were never going to get along. We have two completely different work styles. Eric's all about power. I'm all about getting my freaking hands dirty. Eric is all about having people fear him and bullying people. I don't work that way.
Russo and Jeff Jarrett were once really close friends. Russo went to bat for Jarrett when they both worked in the WWF, and in WCW, he made him world champion. But it was in TNA where the problems started, as Russo found himself caught between Jeff and his dad Jerry. Jerry didn't like Russo's style of booking. He thought it was all shock value and swerves with no respect for wrestling tradition. From the start, Russo felt like Jerry didn't want him in the company. He believed Jerry resented him because Jeff chose Russo to write TNA storylines instead of his own father. Things got worse when Jerry started publicly mocking Russo's booking, saying it read like something written by a guy on LSD. Vince got annoyed that Jeff didn't defend him and took it as another sign that their friendship wasn't what it used to be. But the real breaking point came during a street fight between Russo and Jarrett that was supposed to be part of the show. Russo says that he'd earlier criticised the way some of the wrestling was looking on TV from some of the boys. He thought that some of the punches and strikes weren't looking real enough and that it was hurting the product. Jeff allegedly took that personally, and Russo says that he beat him up for real.
The work looked like crap. The punches looked fake and it was all that crap. And I remember saying to Jeff, I don't understand, bro. Like you guys can't hit each other without hurting each other. So it's got to look like phony, absolute crap because you don't know how to hit each other without hurting each other. Like I was really hot because it was really starting to look bad.
This is in TNA.
This is in TNA. So I had like this street fight scheduled against Jeff in the Nashville Fairgrounds. I don't know if I told you this or not, Chris. Because I said that, bro, as a shoot, he beat the living crap out of me. I mean, bro, when I tell you I went home and my body was covered head to toe, black and blue. Head to toe, black and blue. And that was because of what I said. But, you know, bro, here's the bottom line. Think about it, Chris. Let's be honest. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to help the product. I'm not saying that like, oh, you guys are a bunch of wussies. You can't really hit each other. I'm saying it because the product looked bad. That's why I said it. But, you know, Jeff took it personally.
In 2009, Jeff got into a relationship with Karen Angle while she was still married to Kurt. At the time, no one knew for sure what was going on, but there were rumours. Dixie Carter asked Russo if he knew anything that was going on, but also told him not to say a word unless it was something serious that was going to affect the company. So he stayed quiet, thinking that he was following her instructions. Later, Jeff denied everything to Dixie, but when the truth came out, she blamed Russo for not telling her what was happening. To Russo, it felt like he got thrown under the bus.
Dixie and Jeff did not get along. Okay. And because she was my boss and Jeff was my friend, I was always middled. Always middled, always put in a horrible situation where she's the boss. I've got to respect her. She's paying me. He's my friend that I've known forever. So there was always a middling from day one. So now I find out, okay, bro, this he stopped talking to me because Dixie told him I said something about him. But here's what really pissed me off and really disappointed me, bro. Bro, at that time, I had been friends with Jeff for, this is about 5 years ago, bro. So 2015, bro, we're talking about a 20-year relationship. You mean to tell me, bro, you're not going to confront me? You're not going to, after 20 years, you're not going to say to me, hey, Vince, listen, I want to have a talk with you. Dixie said, you said so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. You're not even going to have a conversation. You're just going to accept what she told you I said. Bro, I'm sorry. I love the guy to death. I will always love him. But obviously, John, in the wrestling business, there are a lot of people where when you can no longer do anything for them, you never hear from them again.
Russo has said that he believes Jeff was manipulating Dixie, making her feel like she wasn't capable of running the company. He claims her lack of confidence is what led to her bringing in Bischoff and Hogan, which in turn led to him leaving the company himself.
When Jeff started TNA, it was his company.
Yes.
He lost his sponsor. TNA was dead.
Right.
He needed to find somebody with money. Dixie had the money. Okay. But to Jeff, it was still Jeff's company. So Jeff wanted Dixie's money, but didn't want Dixie to have anything to do with the money, with the company. No decisions, nothing. He still wanted it to be his company with her funding it. Okay. So what Jeff did was, because Jeff's a wrestler and they're maniacal and they're manipulating and they're workers. Bro, Jeff early on made Dixie believe that she was an absolute idiot. He made her believe she knew nothing about wrestling. She couldn't make any decision. Don't open your mouth because I will just laugh at you. He literally, any confidence Dixie Carter had, Jeff Jarrett completely stripped away from her because he wanted to be in control. He wanted to be the boss. So, bro, that explains. That's why Dixie went from person to person to person and kept hiring other people to make the decisions for her. Because within that first year, Jeff Jarrett convinced Dixie Carter that she was totally incompetent and should not even open her mouth when it came to the wrestling business.